No, well, first off, thanks a lot for coming, everyone. And I think I would start off everything by just saying over the last few days, we have traded Ben Bishop, Valtteri Filppula, and Brian Boyle. All three of these players were significant contributors to the success we've had over the last 3 seasons. And it's very important that I make note of what a great contribution they made to our organization and provided us with great hockey, great leadership, and were major contributors to the success we had. So on that, I am very appreciative of all their effort and their professionalism to our team. So having said that, I'm open up to questions.
Steve, now that the smoke is cleared, are you convinced this team is better off for the future?
We're in a position to be better off for the future. Now we've got to make some good decisions along the way here to improve our team. But we needed cap space, one to protect the cap for next year, and 2 to sign our players. So now we've got to make good decisions, moving forward. So it just positions us to do things that we need to do and want to do to become better. So to say we're better off right now, cap-wise we are, competitive-wise we got work to do.
Steve, clearly the season hasn't gone the way you guys expected. If you were holding a playoff position right now, would these deals have gone through?
Depends on what position.
How much flexibility do you have moving forward with some of these moves, especially the Val move? Obviously, clears the space and clears an expansion opportunity in terms of protection. So how much flexibility do you have now with these moves that you've made?
Well, again, it eases, I guess, some of the uncertainty for expansion. With a no-move clause, Val, we would have been required to protect Val or potentially go to Val and ask him to waive it for the expansion draft. Whether that would, I never did ask him that. That's something for the off season. But it I guess eases a little bit of the tension or the stress of who's going to be protected or what we need to do to be compliant or who's going to get exposed. Ultimately, we free up cap space this year, which I've talked about recently. We free up cap space that allows us to apportion all of our entry-level contract, our performance bonuses on the kids into this year, which maximizes our cap space for next year. Was able to not acquire or retain a contract or retain salary for next year, which would also hurt our cap. So our and then as I know, we want to sign our restricted free agents. So we've got the space. We have some. I don't know. We have flexibility because what we got when we get our players signed, we're not going to have much flexibility again. That's But we needed to create space so we can sign our players. So and again, we're in a position where I've got to decide with the expansion draft to our protection list. We're in a position now. If I did nothing, we're probably going to lose a player off our we are going to lose a player off our roster that I'd prefer not to. So I don't necessarily have flexibility. I don't necessarily have flexibility next year, but we don't have the commitment, so we can kind of decide. We have, I guess, flexibility on what decision we want to go or what decision we want to make.
Steve, how should the perception be for the fans out there to look at three, perhaps the biggest names on this team having to be moved in a situation like this?
Well, I think everyone that follows our team knew we were going to have to make decisions at some point. Which direction we went, I think there's a little bit of uncertainty, and depending on, for our fan base, who was your favorite player or whatnot, would be, I hope this doesn't happen or that doesn't happen. But I think we have a pretty educated fan base and knew the challenges we were facing. And we've had a very competitive team the last couple of years. We were hoping, at this stage to be in a different place in the standings we are today. But again, I think it has been no secret. Everybody knows, we're going to get crunched at some point, and some of the decisions on this roster are going to have to be made, whether it was by today or the end of the season. They were going to have to be made, and had to make some of those decisions now because these opportunities wouldn't be here at the end of the season.
You mentioned creating cap space for some of the RFAs you have to sign this summer. Obviously, this accomplishes some of it. Does it accomplish all of that, or do you think you need to make some more moves eventually in this summertime to create some of that kind of space too?
I guess it would. depend on the type of contracts that we sign, the term of the contracts. That'll affect the obviously their cap numbers. But we will, our team, as we sit today, we are outside the playoffs. We're close. We're hoping to make the playoffs, but we're hoping to improve our team. And we'll continue to explore ways once the season ends to try and improve our team. So I don't know that we necessarily have to make moves to be cap compliant, but we will look at ways of improving the team.
The trade of Adam Wilcox from Michael McCann, was that purely to help Syracuse?
Yes.
Playoff run?
Yes.
And does Connor Ingram, the fact that you have in the organization, help alleviate the fact that you're trading a 24-year-old goaltender now?
Yes, our intention to date is to have Connor in Syracuse playing next year. That's our plan, and like to have an experienced guy with him there as well. So.
And the clear day stuff, I know you did with those three guys, but you had a chance for Braden Point. Was there a reason you didn't put Point on that list to have him eligible, or is he eligible?
We could have put him on there and decided not to. Ultimately, he's been on our team from day one. I believe he's an NHL player. We debated making him eligible to play in the playoffs in Syracuse, and at the end of the day, I decided not to.
With Luke, you didn't want to lose into waivers, is that why he wasn't put on that?
Pardon me?
Lukowski, was he the kind of...
Yeah, that was a concern for us for sure. He was the captain of that team and an important player. Our thought was we might lose him. We didn't want to lose him, and he's a player. He hasn't played in a while, but we're only carrying 7 defensemen right now, and I wanted to protect that as well for our team. So it would have been great if in the event Syracuse is in the playoffs and we're not. I would have liked to, but I didn't want to make him. Didn't want to lose him, whether we would have or not. I didn't want to take that chance.
As this team tries to chase a playoff spot down, did the team have to be addressed, knowing about these trains coming up from either you or John, just to kind of keep their confidence up with 20-something games to go?
I know Coop spoke with the team prior to our last game, and I'm assuming I've been pretty busy the last 2 days, so I'm assuming I know he was going to address the team again today, and if I get an opportunity at some point to address them, it might not be before the game, but I'd like to do that.
Are you concerned of reaction from them? I mean, they responded Monday with a nice win.
Played very well. We got off to a bit of a slow start, which is understandable, but they played extremely well. Essentially, my word to the team is going to be, guys, we're in a position in the standings at the trade deadline that I've got to make decisions on based on our record. And if our record is different, we would potentially make different decisions. But these particular ones had to be made at some point. Our record dictated that we had to make them now. We're within striking distance of a playoff spot. We're expecting, and we feel we have a very good team, a lot of very good players, and some young players are going to come up and get more opportunity. Everybody's going to get more opportunity here now. They're professionals. Their job is to show up and play well and to win. And our expectation is to try and to win tonight's game. We win tonight's game, then we'll move on to Pittsburgh and Buffalo on the weekend and try and win those games. So we're trying to get the playoffs and trying to get a playoff spot. We're trying to win, and our players. This is a tough part of the business. They show up and do their part and win and play extremely well. That's all they can do, and that expectation hasn't changed.
Was it realistic financially for you guys to try to improve your team in the short term for the rest of this season, as far as whether it's a rental or adding another player? I don't know if you guys ever. Rental-wise, we have a lot of cap space with using LTI. We could have done that with what I needed to do, and then kind of start to move players out, and then get into the rentals. Kind of didn't make sense for us to do that. And ultimately, we can try to do certain things, but for me, the preference was to try and do things that would help us this year, but next year and beyond. Those opportunities I wasn't able to accomplish.
Do you feel like you've seen trade deadline evolve in your time here? Because it used to be pretty busy, and now it seems like it's sort of slowed down the number of trades that are made deep line.
Yeah, I guess a lot more teams had the more cap space at the time. The cap
for the first few years there, until the last 2 or 3 years, the cap was, growing kind of each year. In the last couple of years, the cap hasn't grown at the same rate it's been in the past. It's made it tricky. A lot of teams are at or close to the cap. I think the expansion draft has an impact on what teams wanted to do, but it's, again, it's just getting more and more difficult to make a trade. And I found at the deadline, teams aren't as willing to give up draft picks, and they're being much more conservative. That things have just changed the way everyone is doing business.